Rep the 605 with Soccer 605 apparel from our clothing partner, Dakota Lettering. Just click on the store banner on the Soccer 605 website to see a wide variety of style and colors. Want more options? Visit the store for an almost unlimited variety. Soccer 605 Clothing. Represent.
Hello. Hello, soccer fans, and welcome to This Week on the Pitch, the updated version of the forum. I want to welcome Chris Derry, who is our go-to guy and knows soccer across the state. Chris, thanks so much for joining us for our first episode of the season this year.
Sounds good. I appreciate you inviting me.
And well, it's always good to sit together and visit with you about soccer. It was fun kind of tweeting back and forth during the games this weekend with you and texting. But we got a lot to cover because we're halfway through the season and this is the first show that we're getting up. So let's start. Go ahead.
I said, yes, we do.
Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and start off with the AA girls, if that's all right with you, Chris.
Sounds good.
AA girls, the division is starting to shake itself out, but there's no reason to doubt that Rapid City Stevens won seed status. There's no reason to doubt that at this point. They're leading pretty handily. They're over 3 seed points ahead of Sioux Falls Lincoln, sitting in second. The only game they haven't won was their draw with Lincoln. So, and
yeah, and they've definitely, as you said, I mean, this weekend they I think solidified themselves by playing previously unbeaten Pierre, and handling their business there.
Yep. So they appear to be pretty well locked in, but there's still things that can happen. There's still games to go. And tomorrow night, Chris, is the first of the pair of Rapid City Stevens versus Rapid City Central crosses, and I think those games, especially on the girls' side, have never been more important for Central this year, because Central could really use the seed points, and Stevens, of course, wants to hold on to theirs. And neither of those teams have any other AA competition coming up this season other than each other. All they have is A. So when it comes to seed points, that'll make a difference, I think.
I do too. And Rapid City Central, of course, won the matchup last year. Stevens, as of thus far, has looked like the far superior team. But as we know in crosstown rivalries and any rivalry out there, throw out the seeding points, throw out the records. It's a game for bragging rights within town. So it'll be fun to see what Coach Morgan and Coach Sarah do to get their teams ready and be ready to play.
Well, it'd be worth the trip out to Rapid, but if we hadn't just come again, maybe we'll be able to catch the next one. But over halfway through the season, the only competition Stevens have other than each other are Spearfish, St. Thomas More, and Bellefouche. So, and of course, Stevens already played St. Thomas More and should have some good solid seed points off of that, because that was St. Thomas More's only loss. So, but Lincoln is right there with them, and just like every other season, Coach Steve Burkhalter is helping the team improve every time out. They've been playing some really good defense. Megan Landon and Kennedy Keller are anchoring it in the middle. Have you had a chance to see them play this year?
I've seen some highlights from them from parents who posted some videos and talked to several of the parents who are out there. And, I haven't got to see them personally, but as seems to be the case over the last 3 years, and now this being the 4th year of what I consider Coach Burkhalter having the kids playing the best they could be playing by the end of the season. And I think they started out kind of slow. They kind of came out a little bit sluggish, had to get used to a new keeper between the pipes, and some players that they had to fill in slots. And but here it is, end of the season, and it looks like they're starting to pick up a little momentum.
Yeah. Well, Sydney Johnson's been doing a nice job between the pipes for them. Madison Landon is really coming into her stride in her goal-scoring part of her career. And, of course, that back defense is anchored pretty well with Megan Landon and Kennedy Keller back there. So they're continuing to improve, and it'll be fun to watch the games they have coming up.
Yeah, it'll be they'll have some work to do, but I think in reality, if they stay in that number 2, number 3 seed, that puts them in the best position to play Stevens again at the end of the season in the biggest game for the season.
Yeah, I think you're right. But don't count out Sioux Falls O'Gorman. O'Gorman will have Alyssa Weidler back now from a sprain. And our latest information indicates that their freshman keeper, Jillian Barkas, has been doing a phenomenal job for them in the goal. That she's been cleared to play and will be back after completing her concussion protocol. So that'll be a big difference for O'Gorman.
Yeah, anytime you have an injury, got to recover from it, got to do all that stuff. It definitely changes the landscape of the team. And again, I can't say it enough times, but when do you want to be playing your best at the end of the season? So.
Yep. Well, Coach Ryan Beyer is sending midfielder Teresa Pajado forward a lot more this year again, and that's had a great impact on how dangerous they are. And if Alyssa Weidler gets back out there on the field with her, they'll be a force to be reckoned with. So we're looking forward to seeing. Them. And sitting in the number 4 spot is Pierre. Pierre split on the road. The score was can't remember if it was 5-0 that they had against Stevens.
Yes, it was.
But that score does not reflect the quality of play that Pierre was putting on the field. It was a good competition.
And Pierre there again. They've had to start at the beginning of the season or going through the whole season with relying on the fact that they have to come up with some new goal scorers because their big goal scorer, Nikki Farnsworth, went out this last summer with a knee injury and will not be back all year. So a lot more of the weight has fallen to Katie Nielsen, who's definitely picked up the scoring prowess for them and creating a lot of dangerous opportunities. And Coach Zenon has put a couple of players up front that we probably wouldn't expect. Tori Thorpe, who was a center defender last year, is up there, and young Miss Michelson has been up there, and they've been scoring some goals. This was the first weekend I really felt they had some really tough competition, and now between them and Roosevelt coming up, they had Aberdeen, Stevens, and Central, and they got Roosevelt coming up soon too, and a rejuvenated Brandon Valley. They got some tough games coming up to figure out that scoring prowess before the playoffs.
They do, and you're absolutely right. Emily Mickelson was right in there, and she's just a freshman. It was fun to see her out there being a force. And then also Joanna Zanin was also doing some really nice work out there in the middle of the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
she's young, coming along, and going to do good things as she gets some more experience out there playing against the bigger, stronger competition.
Yeah, and of course, Katie Nielsen's goal with 6 seconds left on the clock in the first half really was a thing of beauty. It was being rewarded for following through. I don't know if you had a chance to see that. We did put that up on Soccer 605, but
yeah, I saw it. And it's kind of been the tale of Katie's year so far. She scored a lot of goals based on the fact that she's gotten out there on the corner, and with her speed and quickness has gotten around the corner and made a lot of dangerous opportunities for Pierre. And I'm gonna just off the cuff say that she's probably contributed to 90% of their goals just from the fact of what she does up front by creating mismatches with her speed and quickness.
Well, and they've scored a number of goals. 19, 20, 23, 25 goals so far.
And I'm going to say she's been involved in most of those in one way or another, either assist, secondary assist, or a goal.
Yeah, well, she's impressing the heck out of us. Always has, but watching her play out there has been a lot of fun. So rounding out the top 5 is Sioux Falls, Washington. And, they are actually tied with Pierre for 4th in points-wise and record-wise. And so that'll be interesting. Let's see, they don't even play during the regular Washington and Pierre, so
no,
we'll have to wonder on that one.
And Washington lost that game against Stevens in the final 45 seconds.
Yes, they did.
Where would Stevens be if they would have held on to that draw against Stevens or put away the number of opportunities that they actually had during that game?
Yep, excellent point. Washington is definitely a team to watch. They have a very good keeper, solid keeper, in Adri Heinert. And, Coach Guzzi has his talent playing where they're doing the team the most good. Morgan Moe back in the central defense. She's been running the defense very well. They've been able to get the ball through to Skylar Moen, and Skylar's work ethic and her tenacity is really helping the team out this year. So fun watching that team as well. And of course, we talked about Rapid City Central, who are sitting in, which is basically 6th position. Roosevelt in 7th, and then Brandon Valley at 8th. And Brandon Valley, as you mentioned, they're really a revitalized team, and got to give a lot of credit to Coach Jacob Shop, who is very near and dear to both your heart and mine because of knowing him growing up as a young player and seeing him now coaching and giving back to the game. It just does the heart good, doesn't it?
It does. Jacob and I got the chance to sit down before the season started, and he kind of picked my brain a little bit on some things from the past and ran some ideas that he had, and he was pretty excited about this season with this group of girls and was excited to see what they could do. And I think so far, if you're giving him a grade on pass or fail on what he's done so far with the girls, I would say it's definitely a pass with a big plus behind it.
Yeah. He's got those girls believing in themselves. They're having a lot of fun, and they've got, I think they have had a win, a draw, and a loss in their last 3 games, but they had their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th games. They all had wins, so they're coming on strong.
And I got to think back to the previous years, the recent history, last 2, 3, 4 years, and I don't know that they've had that kind of record in any of those years.
I don't
until this year.
I don't believe they have. They've always been working hard to stay in getting that top 8, and they're there right now. But I think they're there in a much stronger position than they have been in the past.
Agreed.
When we're talking about Roosevelt, Roosevelt is not having the best season. They're 3-2-1. It's just not what Roosevelt is used to doing on the girls' side.
Don't they have some new coaches there too? I mean, I know Mike Greco's helping out as an assistant coach. Is the girls' coach is also new too, correct?
Becky Jansen is in her 2nd year with the team.
Second. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes, when a team has a long-standing winning tradition, you can start sitting back on riding on your laurels, and you gotta maintain and hold that position if you want to continue to have that legend carry on. So
it's hard to.
They've
once
had
you
a couple
create that tradition, you got to keep it.
Yeah. Well, the Rough Riders lost by 2 goals to O'Gorman last week, and then they lost by 2 goals to Yankton at the end of the week. So they've got Brandon Valley coming up, and Brandon Valley, as we mentioned, they're believing, and they'll be at Brandon for that one. So, and then they still have Pier ahead of them. So the Rough Riders they got their work cut out for them to get into that top 8 and to stay there.
Absolutely.
They're in 7th right now, and a team that's sitting further down, I think we don't want to discount them either, is Aberdeen Central. I got to see them play this weekend, and it was really a lot of fun. Of course, we have for Aberdeen Central, we've got Allie Zuger that's out there, just a little phenom going forward. We decided that if anybody tries to play the ball around her and get past her, and when she's up on the attack, and she takes it away, somebody takes it away and goes forward, we're going to call that Zuger. You've been Zugered. She will take that ball and move forward, and she got some results with that this weekend.
And the hard thing for Aberdeen is they're sitting down there in that position, and they haven't been at full strength, I don't believe, all season. They've
not
been missing key players, and hopefully if they get all those back to go along with what they're currently doing, they could be one of those sleepers that nobody wants to play in the playoffs.
Yep. Hillary Mantone has not been playing, and neither has Deborah Wills. So we're hoping that both of them will be back for them this season.
Yeah,
and if those two both get on the field, it'll be a big difference. It'll make a big difference for them.
Absolutely.
So, and obviously they held their own pretty good this weekend. So it was pretty close against Stevens. So
yeah, 3-2, correct?
Yep. And they actually had the Central game won 2-0 at the half, and it was kind of late in the second half when Central scored, and then very late in the second half when they equalized. So they were there. They could taste. They
Gotta
could
hold
taste
on
that.
to those games, don't they?
Yeah. Yep. They do. So that kind of rounds up the AA girls. There's some good games coming up this weekend for the AA girls, and this week we're looking forward to some of those. We've got coming up tomorrow. Let me just pull those up real quick here. We'll have Brookings and Huron playing, Harrisburg and O'Gorman, Stevens and Central. We mentioned already. That's going to be a really good battle. The Lincoln-Washington rivalry is going to take place tomorrow night. And then, of course, Yankton and Brandon Valley. That should be another good game. And that's just tomorrow night. There's even more coming up on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Lincoln-O'Gorman game is on Thursday night, the 10th, and that'll be a great game. And Brookings and Sioux Falls, Washington.
There's a lot of games out there to be played that could really dictate the standings for many of the teams.
Yep, Aberdeen and Yankton. Just quite a few games going on this weekend, starting tomorrow night. So it'll be interesting to see how everything all shakes out as the season starts to wind down and everybody's jockeying for that final top 8 position. All right, Chris, well, let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsors and come back and let's talk a little A girls. You up with that?
Sounds good.
All right.
You've worked hard all year. I need you to bring it, dig down deep today. Because today, everybody plays.
Everybody plays.
Everybody plays.
Everybody plays.
Play. When we first learned to work together, it was through play. We learned social skills, give and take, freedom and teamwork through play. There's no age limit on play, no skill level required. Play It Again Sports knows play. We buy and sell new and quality used sports and fitness equipment for less, so everybody can play.
To create the best tasting food, you start with the freshest ingredients. Carefully selected and blended together in authentic recipes found nowhere else. Only the finest quality natural ingredients go into the food we prepare every day from scratch. The original Pancake House, the origin of great taste.
Welcome back, folks. Let's talk a little A girls soccer. Want to note that on the South Dakota High School Activities Association scoreboard, Chris, that they're missing the Groton at T score from Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
T won that game 4-1, and that result is not going to help Groton, who are sitting in 7th spot, and it actually could drop them down into a tie with Sioux Falls Christian. And those two teams will meet this coming weekend. Let's see now. I've got to back up here a minute. Groton at T won 4-1. It's not going to help Groton, but it could actually help T a little bit. But T is sitting right now with 4-1. I'm not sure about their 4-1-0. I'm not sure what their actual points are because that score is missing from there. They don't have the PowerPoints updated. And St. Thomas More, of course, is leading the heap right now, 6-1-0. And their only loss came at the hands of Rapid City Stevens early in the season. They look like they're going to be the team to beat. They're in good form. They take on Bellefouche and Spearfish this week, and I think they can be expected to win both of those games. Unfortunately, Bellefouche lost 2 key attackers for them in last week's game against West Central. Brittany Hunsley wound up with a broken leg in a collision with the keeper, and Jess Ryan, another collision with the West Central's keeper, wound up with actually has a piece cartilage missing out of her kneecap that they had to go in and deal with.
And I like to take a moment and talk. I've seen a lot of chatter on social media about the collisions there with the West Central keeper and Brittany and Jesse. And I don't know Brittany nearly as well as I know Jesse, but I know Jesse is a heck of a go-getter, and she's a scrappy fighter out there. I mean, she brings what she does in the summer when she's out there rodeoing out on the field. She's got that toughness, and I saw a lot of people blaming the West Central keeper for the collision, and I saw, a lot of people questioning the referee and stuff. And I'm going to tell you from my perspective, I've watched the play now of Jesse and the keeper, I don't know, several times. And as a referee of 20 plus years, a former player, a coach, and everything else, I truly, in my opinion, didn't see anything wrong with the collision. It was a collision of two kids going for the ball. And I think anyone who thinks that this kid was out there to hurt Jesse or Brittany, I think is just in poor taste. I think those kids are out there competing and they're trying to do everything they can, and it's unfortunate because I care about Jessie, knowing her personally, and I know it's just her senior year, and gosh darn it, you don't ever want to see anyone miss their senior year, but let's not take this further than where it was. It was an ugly collision of two players that were going hard for the ball.
Well, and Haley Fisher is a great kid and a great little goalie too. They just had a collision that happened. It's really unfortunate, as you said. They're both going and can see each other. Those things happen. It is a contact sport, and unfortunately, some of those injuries are season-ending once in a while. So I agree. It doesn't need to go any further, and it's just sad that we're not going to see those two players finish off their senior season, and it's going to be devastating for Belle-Fourche.
It is, and it's tough. I'll take my coach's hat off and put my parents' hat on, because my stepson Austin, his senior year, missed almost the entire thing up until the final game he got to play in because of a broken foot and a collision with the kid in the second game of the season. And if anyone who knows our team from back then, Austin was one of our starting center defenders and a key to our team. And to miss him throughout the season really hurt. And as a parent, it hurt not having him out there, and as a coach. So, and it being a senior year, it hurt him. So I understand all that stuff. I don't want anyone to think I'm not understanding it.
Yeah.
I understand it as good as anybody, but I just don't want to see people taking it out on a kid who I think is getting kind of some unfair stuff said about her when she was out there just playing the position that she was supposed to play and playing it the best she could.
I tell you, if I was a college coach with looking for a goalkeeper and saw that tenacity, that courage that she exhibited coming out, that'd be a positive mark, because she was working hard there. So I think enough said on that. It is what it is, and Belle-Fourche is going to have their work cut out for them. But we've talked about this earlier, Chris. Coach Casey Lynch has been around the block a time or two. She'll sort it out and figure out how to get her attack back. She
will. She's a good young coach, and talked to her a few times over the past years, and I think she'll do the best she can with what she's got. And I will never going to sit there and count a team out. That's just not the way you do it. So she'll get them back there playing on all the cylinders.
Yep. Time is short, but they'll get her done one way or the other. So, and a newcomer to the A girls division this year, Spearfish. They lost their first 4 games, but they've now won 3 in a row. They haven't had the strongest competition that they've been playing against, but we'll find out on Tuesday when they take on St. Thomas More if they are one of those teams that's continuing to progress and get better with each game.
And Connor Shuck has those girls playing better than I've seen them play for a long time. He's got some talent in there in the striking ability and defensive area. He's got some good senior leadership. While I don't know if they're up to the challenge with St. Thomas More, knowing Coach Connor the way I do and personally, I guarantee he's going to have those girls the best they can possibly be against them. And it wouldn't surprise me any for them to get some sort of result against St. Thomas More either. Not to discredit St. Thomas More, but I'm gonna say Coach Shuck's going to have those girls ready to play.
Oh, I'm sure they will be. Well, they're sitting in the 4th spot right now and would love to strengthen that position, I'm sure. So right behind them is in 5th spot right now is West Central. And West Central is still looking for their first win, but don't let that fool you. They've had a 2-3 loss to Vermilion, a 2-0 loss to Belle-Fourche. In that game earlier, a 2-1 loss to St. Thomas More. So they were right there with St. Thomas More. And then they drew against Vermilion last week. So just because they don't have the wins on their scoreboard doesn't mean they're not putting up a good battle in every game they're in.
And sometimes results come in different forms, and sometimes it's win and losses. Sometimes it's the way you play the game with the team that you have. So West Central's had a thing over the years of being successful, and while they may not have the wins and losses, they're definitely not a team that I'm necessarily going to count out.
Yeah. Well, they've got a good anchor at the back in the goal with Haley Fisher, and a nice attack always with Ashley Eichmann, senior forward. She's a powerful forward, and I think they'll start getting more results here in the latter half of the season. Then we have coming in, where do we go now? After West Central, we have sitting in there in the 6th spot, is Vermilion. And Vermilion is just seems to be getting in their stride right now. They're 4-1-1, and they tied West Central. They have Sioux Falls Christian coming up, then they have another match with T, and then one with Garrettson. So they'll be trying to strengthen their position as well.
And that's a team I really haven't seen enough of to know to talk about. But again, these teams, it seems like there's a lot of, while the results may not show it, it seems to be, from what I hear from a lot of people talking, there's not that much difference in any of them. It's just a goal here or a goal there.
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned that Vermilion will be playing T area again this week. They met earlier in the season, Vermilion and T, and T won that one 3-1, and that was Carly McKinney for T. She's just getting it done for the team game after game after game. Just a little prolific goal scorer there. So we'll see if Vermilion can redeem themselves with that counter and get a win at home on that game. And then we have to follow up with Groton area, Sioux Falls Christian, and Garrettson. Of course, Garrettson is a program that has just started up last year, in their 2nd year, and they're still looking for that first win, but they have got some. I think they got a couple goals in, so got to wish them the best of luck there. And I know they have a new coach at Garrettson this season as well.
Yep,
so.
young program, little goals.
Yep. I've not had a chance to see them yet this season. They'll have to celebrate what they can celebrate this season and work toward the next season, I guess. Just going to take a quick look and see what kind of a roster they have. They got a pretty good distribution. A lot of 9th and 10th graders on there, so they'll be there in the future.
Absolutely.
So it's hard to tell what's going to happen in the girls A. I think it's safe to say that when we come down to the semifinals, quarterfinals, that we're going to have St. Thomas More, T, and Belfouche in there somewhere in the mix. And whether it'll be Spearfish or West Central or Vermilion, we'll find out, won't we?
Exactly. Got to play the game.
Got to play the games first. All right. Well, I think that wraps up our A girls for this week. There are some good games coming up again in the A girls. Let's just see what we've got coming up this week real quick. Tonight or tomorrow night, Garrettson and West Central will play at Garrettson. Spearfish and Belfouche will play. That'll be a good one. St. Thomas More has a game against AA Sturgis. And that kind of wraps up the A girls for tomorrow night. And then Huron and Mitchell are both AA. We have Vermilion and Sioux Falls Christian playing this week on Thursday. And then on Friday, it'll be Groton area and West Central. And Saturday, we've got St. Thomas More and Belfouche. Spearfish will take on Rapid City Central. We'll be interested to see how that result comes out. And Sioux Falls Christian will take on Groton, Vermilion, and T area. And that'll wrap up this week. So we'll know more next Monday on the girls A.
Sounds like a lot of points out there to be had for some teams.
Yep, there are. So it'll be fun to see. Chris, there's not many points separating. Actually, STM is not very far ahead of T right now, and T is missing that game result on the state website. And then there's not a lot separating T and Belfouche. So change may be in the offing. We'll find out.
Yep, there you go.
All right. Well, let's wrap up this section on the girls high school soccer and take a break and hear from our sponsors, and we'll come back and talk boys soccer.
Don't have an ordinary Monday. Have a Burger Monday at Beef O'Brady's. Stacked high with fresh Angus and fries, just $5.49 all day. Beef O'Brady's Burger Mondays. Nobody outbeefs beefs.
Getting recruited by college coaches is more difficult every year. There are thousands of other athletes competing for your position. MyPlayerPage.com is the best place for athletes to showcase their personal and player information. Check us out today at MyPlayerPage.com. Any sport, any athlete, any state, any city, champions all.
Welcome back, folks. It's time to talk a little boys varsity soccer. Let's start off with the A. And Chris, I want to point out again that Groton at T score is missing from Saturday, September 5th for the boys A. And that game, they also won. T won 4-1. The girls won 4-1 over Groton, and the boys won 4-1. I thought I was getting bad information at first and repeating it, but that's what the scores were.
Very good.
Yeah, and I don't think that score will change the standings very much, as T is currently in 4th spot right now, below James Valley, and James Valley prevailed when those two met earlier head-to-head. So I don't think we can look for a lot of change from that.
Right.
And you just can't talk about A boys without thinking of Sioux Falls Christian. And once again, they are at the top of the heap.
They are, and they're doing what they've been doing the past few years. But as for everything that they've been doing this year, they have something a little different they got to deal with, and that'll be the number 2 team in the A division.
That's true. That is true. Let's talk about Sioux Falls Christian a little bit more, and then we need to talk about that number 2, because that's going to be really interesting. I've had a chance to see them play a couple times, and Paul Eide and Joey Tenaple are just doing an outstanding job leading the team on the field, and I believe they are the only 2 seniors on the team.
Yeah, so, they don't have a lot of seniors from what I saw on their roster.
Yeah. They are the only 2. They graduated a heck of a senior class last year, so a lot fell on the shoulders of Joy Tenaple and Paul Eide, and they certainly have proved that they're up to the task. Bringing along those underclassmen, they're just looking real shiny.
They're doing what they've been doing the last few years. They're taking care of their competition, setting themselves up for a 1 seed, and going to the, until proven differently, they are the team to beat.
Yeah. Well, they're 7-0-0 right now, and that may or may not change. They still have Sioux Falls O'Gorman on their schedule. Of course, that's a AA opponent. Always a good battle when those 2 meet. I can't remember where they play at, if they play at Sioux Falls Christian or O'Gorman, but it really doesn't make that much difference, because they are at O'Gorman. They both play on turf.
Yep.
Neither one of them has to travel except across town. So.
Yeah, I think that game's, I think they played last year, if I remember correctly, where Sioux Falls Christian handled their business well enough against O'Gorman. I think O'Gorman's got a little something more this year than they've had in the past. So I expect that game to be a little bit better game than maybe people might think. We'll see.
Yeah, O'Gorman is, well, we'll talk about them when we hit the AA, but they're playing a little bit different soccer. You're right. Yeah. But let's talk about what you brought up at the beginning here, the new A opponent, Spearfish. They are doing very well.
Yeah, they are, and that's a team that the last time Spearfish was in the A division, they won the state championship. And that was in Aberdeen where they took it, and they took care of all their competition. And this year, Coach Jim Hill has another squad that's like that. I think the only thing that right now may shake up a little bit for them is the fact that Cesar Mendez is hurt. And,
I haven't heard that.
That will change the way they play a little bit. And I haven't heard exactly what it is for sure. I know it's his knee, but what the prognosis is, I haven't heard for sure. But if he's out for any length of time, that'll definitely change their dynamic a little bit. because he is a force out there.
Now, I hadn't heard that. Do you know how long he's been out?
He got hurt the weekend they went to Huron and Mitchell.
Yeah, that's a player for them for sure. Well, they're 7-0-1. Spearfish's only loss came at the hands of AA Pier in the opening game.
No, it was a tie, 1-1.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that was a tie. So they don't have a loss. They have 7 wins and that one tie. So, and the only way we're going to get to see Spearfish and Sioux Falls Christian play each other is if they are in the big show in Mitchell. So.
Yep. And if they both make it there, which I don't want to discount anybody else in the A division, but until I see differently, I'm going to say both of them are going to be there, and that will be a heck of a match.
Well, James Valley Christian is hanging right in there at third, not a lot of points behind, and they could turn it around and be challenging for those spots. One of those spots quite easily.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, James Valley Christian, like I said, I don't want to throw anyone else out there that they can't make it, but I've seen Spearfish. I know what Sioux Falls Christian has, but James Valley Christian, if there's ever a team out there that has a knack for just, where did that come from? It's them. I mean, they've done it in years past where you didn't think anything of it, and all of a sudden there they were at the end of the season. So definitely don't throw them out of the contention.
Now, Coach Jory Whiff really knows how to use the team players well and put them in positions where they can really serve the team best. So we may see a James Valley Christian Spearfish playoff game to get to Mitchell. That would be a very fun game. That would be a game I would drive to go see as well. Yeah, as things look now, that would probably be in Spearfish, but we'll see. And don't count out T area with under Coach Paul Bennett they've got some good strong athletes there as well. So they've had some close games. So we'll have to see what happens. But it's kind of exciting seeing where everything's happening with the A boys and the growth of the A division, bringing Spearfish in there. It's really caused everybody to step up and pay attention a little bit more on the top levels there.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that wraps up, I think, our A boys. There are ours coming up this week that are going to have an impact on that. Take a quick rundown on what we have coming up for A boys this week. There is one actually tonight on Labor Day. T area and Freeman Academy play tonight in T. We may have to go check that one out. And tomorrow night we have Spearfish and Belfouche. St. Thomas More boys will take on the AA Sturgis Brown in Rapid City. Vermilion and Sioux Falls Christian boys. Vermilion boys are back this year, starting to grow their program, working hard on it. They've got a lot of young players, so look for them to become more of a force as time goes on.
Yeah, I'm going to take a moment for Vermilion there. I've got the privilege of seeing their U14s and U12s that they have. They're not going to be there right now, but given another couple years, they got a lot of pretty good athletes on those Vermilion younger teams, and as those kids get older and more experienced, they'll be in the mix.
Well, if you look at their roster, Chris, Vermilion varsity team has a lot of 8th and 9th graders on it. They have a 5 or 6 upperclassmen, a few more than that, but you're absolutely right. They're a team that we can really look for some action from in a couple of seasons, I think.
Absolutely.
Thursday night, Groton area and James Valley Christian will meet in Groton, Huron, and again I'm putting the AA in there. And on Friday, Vermilion and Freeman Academy will play in Vermilion. And then on Saturday the 12th for A games, we'll have Hot Springs and Douglas. Again, hats off to Douglas, working on that program, trying to get it up and going. They're another team that has a lot of young players. So, we talk about rivalries. You just said one there: Groton versus James Valley Christian. If you haven't seen the Groton versus James Valley Christian game, that is a game that usually gets
very intense, and it's a lot of fun to watch those two teams play. So that game will be another game that'll be a lot of fun to see what happens. And regardless of records, throw them out. That's just going to be a mano-y-mano right there.
Excellent point. We've got to see them play a few times at state, and it's always been a fun game to watch. Frequently an overtime game.
Mm-hmm. It has been.
Yeah. And that one's in Groton on Thursday night. James Valley Christian and Vermilion will play on Saturday, and Sioux Falls Christian will host Groton also on Saturday. And the Spearfish boys, A-boys, will take on the AA Rapid City Central in Spearfish on Saturdays.
That'll be a fun game to watch.
Yeah, there's another rivalry that happens with Spearfish and either one of the Rapid City teams. So
yeah, not just one of them, both of them.
Yeah. St. Thomas More and Belfouche will be playing Saturday. That's another A game. And then T area, Mitchell Christian, Mount Vernon, Sanborn Central. They're getting a few more players on the roster at that Mitchell Christian, Mount Vernon, Sanborn Central cooperative team. They have a couple girls playing now, so they're building for the future there as well. So, well, of course, we always want to wish everyone the best of luck. And usually there can be only one that comes out on top of every match. But
yep.
So that'll wrap up our A-boys coverage for this week. Looking forward to those games because there could be some jockeying, moving around of all those seed standings right now.
Yeah, there's some points again. There's a lot of games coming up in the next week or two. Season's short, so when you get a lot of games like this, it definitely makes the standings do a flip flop if necessary.
Yep, it will be interesting. All right, well, let's wrap up with the A-boys. Hear from one of our sponsors, and we'll come back and talk AA. There's some interesting things happening in AA. We'll be right back, folks, after this message.
Bargain Bites has a huge supply of refurbished electronics. They're a Microsoft authorized refurbisher. Just look at this. Computers as low as $100 and a wide variety of electronics, all so affordable. Look at these deals. A Dell 4-core laptop, fully tested, only $200. A MacBook, fully tested and ready to go, only $200. Subscribe to the Bargain Bites YouTube channel and get all sorts of great tips from super technician Brendan. Bargain Bites, just east of the airport off Benson Road. Visit them today online at bargainbites.net.
Beef O'Brady's is where game time and family time happen all the time. Where comfort food and comfortable prices are as regular as our regulars. Join Team O'Brady's at beefobradys.com and get a free starter. See you at Beef's.
Welcome back, folks. It's time to talk about AA boys varsity soccer. All the game results are posted, and Chris, I'm not sure if anyone would have picked Watertown to be sitting at the #1 seed at this point of the season this year, including anyone from Watertown.
If someone would have said, the top 4 is going to include Watertown and Huron, I would have kind of went, that's an interesting pick, and kind of scratched my head a little bit. Seeing Stevens and Aberdeen Central in there, not surprised. Watertown at the top, though, they're just, they've been coming on over the past couple of years, and Coach Jason has some strong leadership, some stronger players, and has got them all aiming in the same direction right now. And they're fast. They're very fast. They're very physical, and what they do very well.
Well, and we knew they were going to be competitive coming in this year, but looking at previous seasons, as you said, Coach Jason Bartels has been really working them and getting them better prepared, and they have some really strong senior talent this year on that team. They've been playing together for years. They've got Mitch Shackert, Marcos Ramirez, Brandon Lindner, Theo Check, and Mason Herricks. Speed and combination.
And I'll tell you right now, Mason Herricks, I don't know that there's another defender or striker in the state as fast as that kid. And he's got some
speed.
he's going to make up for a lot of mistakes that are made. He did it last year, and he's doing it. I'm sure he's doing it even more this year. And of course, Mitch Shackert out there is just, he's a force to be reckoned with. He's a big, strong kid.
Yeah. Well, and Marcos Ramirez back there on defense, along with Mason Herricks. Those guys are just tough to get through with their speed. They're gonna break you down. So, and they also have some great junior leadership coming up, some good junior talent, and put them together with that senior experience and speed, and you have a gritty team that just doesn't quit when they're behind, and they just want to win. They're tired of losing by 1 goal or 2. So.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Coach Jason has them all aimed in the same direction right now, and that's that group of boys. That's been one of their things. They've had little distractions over the past couple of years, and those are gone. They're playing together. Yeah. They're playing hard, and like I said, what they're doing, they do it well.
They have some good synergy going, and it shows. So, Aberdeen Central joins the top 5 this week. Their win over Rapid City Stevens on Saturday. I'm not sure how many people predicted that, other than maybe Aberdeen, because Stevens has been so strong, and it was a heck of a battle the whole way.
And you talk about 2 teams that I was excited to see how they were going to do, and in previous conversations, I'd said I thought Aberdeen could do it, and I said Stevens I thought could do it, and it depended on which one played better, and Aberdeen got the luck of the goal, and Stevens didn't, and Aberdeen's been in good form. I mean, they came out to Pierre, they beat Pierre on the road, and then went to Rapid City and beat both Rapid City teams. So right now, there's a team out there that's pretty dangerous, and their name's Aberdeen Central.
Yeah. Well, and not the entire difference, but a big difference for Aberdeen as well this year is the addition of Marcus Lucky. Pierre's loss was Aberdeen's gain. And Marcus is just a force on the field. But it was Austin Toffelmeyer's goal that was the difference in that Stevens game.
Toffelmeyer is a good young player. I think with the way Coach Cogley has him playing, it reminds me right now of one of his older teams back in 2004, 2005, where he had Jordan Heupel and Preston Eckler and all those boys, where they were moving off the ball. They were fast, they were physical, and their movement was tough to guard. I mean, and of course, I got to be on the receiving end of that as a coach in the state championship way back when, and a couple other times. And when I watched the team this year, it reminded me of those old teams back then, with Shane Kono and them, and those boys. And to see Lance Moore and some of the old players back there helping Steve coach, that team was moving really well, and they got some players that can, Lance Moore is definitely not going to hurt you with his experience.
No. Great player, and he's helped create that legacy for Aberdeen. But the difference we really saw, Chris, I'll credit to Aberdeen's offense, but the real difference was their defense and the way they controlled the ball in the middle of the field. Whenever a Stevens player would get those very talented Stevens players would get the ball and head on the attack, they'd be surrounded by 3 Central players. So Aberdeen, and then of course Joe Hilsendegger did a great job forming the back end and the goal for Aberdeen. So.
And again, that's where I go back to the Aberdeen of old, because I remember back in the older days, that's Coach Cogley, that's what he had those boys doing. Not just one came and tackled you. It was 2 and 3, and if you turned your back to the goal, it was like a blood in the water and sharks surrounding it. They came after you, and they came after you fast and hard.
Yeah, I was reminded of thinking about that ball was a piece of meat that was thrown out there, and they had 3 coyotes that were going for it right away. But that was just something that Stevens didn't seem able to solve, as Aberdeen was surrounding and countering back quickly. So it was a great battle, and we do have it up on Soccer 605. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, it's there. So it was a great game. So Stevens falls to 3rd this week. We have Watertown Aberdeen takes over as in the number 2 spot, and Stevens falls to 3rd. They have Rapid City Central twice and Spearfish, but Spearfish again is an A school now. So as far as seed points goes, they'll be looking for their seed points to come from the games with Rapid City Central.
Yep.
Jacob Nunez did a really nice job for Stevens. I want to make sure I'm getting the right name here.
Yeah, Jacob Nunez, and I've seen a lot of the stuff coming up between him and Jacob Hall up front and Jace Hayes. Jace Hayes has had a couple very nice goals for him, and they got the part about the Stevens team that's kind of interesting is there's a lot of juniors, and some of their better players are the juniors on that team, and so as good as they are this year, everyone in the AA division might want to buckle in because it's only gonna get better next year for them.
Yeah, the quality of play just continues to grow and grow. It's just really fun to watch. Let's talk about that other team that we mentioned earlier. You mentioned coming in at number 4, Huron. I don't know if you've had a chance to see Huron play. Have you seen him play this season?
Yeah, we got to see him the very first game of the season, and when they played Pierre to a 4-1 win, and they, what they do isn't the prettiest of soccer, but it's effective. They've got a really strong central player in the back, Thupo, who's an extremely intelligent player, has very good technique on the ball, and is always tactically aware of his surroundings. And the keeper doesn't do anything to hurt himself. And when I watched them play earlier on in the season, one of their starting central mids, Nemo, was off still with his knee, hamstring, and they were missing a couple other strong striking players that were in Minnesota for something. So when I got to see him play, it wasn't anything fancy, but it was very quick. It was very quick. It was that first 5 yards. They won the 5-yard battles, is what I call it. They took care of 5 yards, and each one of them took care of their own 5 yards, and that was, I'm gonna tell you, that was difficult from Pierre to handle. And looking at the results so far this season, it looks like it's been pretty difficult for everybody else to handle too.
Yeah.
And they've only given up. Well, I mean, they've had a couple clean sheets other than Spearfish scoring 4 on them. I think the rest has been pretty much clean sheets or 1 goal.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened in that Spearfish game. I haven't really heard much about that, but you're right. They've only given up 1 goal other than that game. And their keeper is an 8th grader.
Mm-hmm.
Dixon Noah is their keeper, so that's a young man to watch in the goal. Valley. And Brandon Valley has some tremendous speed out there, and they just were giving him fits. Huron was just giving Brandon Valley fits with that quickness,
right?
And some nice little foot skills too here and there. So it was a fun battle to watch. So Huron in the AA is sitting at number 4. I'm not sure anybody would have thought about that happening this point in the season. They've won over a couple of good teams, including the number 1 seed Watertown earlier this year. That Watertown's sole loss came at the hands of Huron.
Mm-hmm.
So coming in at number 5 are Brookings, the Brookings Bobcats. They lost to Lincoln at home this week, and that probably was a difference maker for them in their standings right now. But they're an improved team this year as well. They're bringing a little bit of swagger to the games with them. It's kind of good, just fun to see them out there having a good time and working hard.
They got
they have
a transfer student that came in that's playing up front for them. That after they got done playing Pierre, I called you guys, and I don't know if remember it or not, but I called and said, that kid that's playing striker for him, Garcia, I think is his last name. He could be one of the more deadly strikers in the state this year. Everyone knows Ben. Yeah, Francisco. Okay. Everyone knows Ben Vukovic, and Ben is earned his reputation. He's a good, solid player. But that kid up front that came in, he is technically sound on the ball, and he does some very creative things that obviously by their record has thrown some people off. And
Yeah.
Brookings, the game I saw them playing, again, nothing spectacular, but it worked, and it was what they needed to do to win the game. And they gave the ball to that kid up front, and he did some deadly things.
I'm looking forward to seeing him. Randy got to see him the other night, but I haven't seen him play yet, so I'm looking forward to that. All right, then coming in at number 6 is Sioux Falls Lincoln. I don't think that Sioux Falls Lincoln has ever been, in my recollection in high school soccer, this low in the standings at this point in the season.
It's been a lot of years since they've been this low. They're usually up in the top 3, and I can name a couple years way back when where they were in this position, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, well, Coach Doug Townsend will sort it out. They have some talent on the team. They just have some things to work out, evidently. And they're sitting now at 2-4 at 6. So Yankton is coming on strong. And look, they started off the season with 2 losses, and then they had 4 straight wins and a draw.
And there's a team. You got a very disciplined coach in Warren Brenner. His teams always play fundamentally sound. They play disciplined. They're physical. They're fit. He's got some great leadership on that team, being led by senior Trayson Slate, who I've had the privilege of coaching the past couple years, and that kid is a true teammate, a true leader, and plays with his heart on his sleeve. He's a great kid. They're coming on strong, and obviously they had some kinks they needed to work out at the end of the season, but it sure looks like they're getting it figured out now.
They lost a lot. The Yankton Bucks lost a lot of seniors last year, and they're sorting it out. And like you said, we can count on Coach Warren Brenner to figure out where he needs people to be and put everyone in the best spot for the team. Trevor Rafferty is just a sophomore in the goal for them, and he's doing a nice job.
And he's gotten a lot of experience. I mean, as a freshman last year, he played a lot of high-level games this summer. He's only going to get stronger and better. He's a big kid back there. They've got the talent there. It's just a matter of putting them in the right spot.
This year they're working hard. They've got a handful of seniors. I think three seniors is all on the team this year. So future looks bright for the Yankton Bucks, but don't discount this year for them at all. Coming in next, we have on the boys. Mentioned a couple other teams. O'Gorman, as we talked about earlier, a new scheme for them this year. They're trying some new formations, new coach. They have a new coach in Bryce Holiday, and they're getting used to each other. About midway through the season, they're starting to have a little bit more success here. It's been a learning curve for them.
Yeah, so, you want to talk about a coach who's been in there. Coach Grossman's been in there for heck, as long as I can remember. And new coach coming in, you had to have expected some some growing pains, but also some excitement. So obviously by some of their results, the excitement has shown through on some, and looks like there's been some mistakes that have been there too, which learning a new system is going to happen.
Yep, they're learning, and they're looking pretty good the other night when we got to see them play against Roosevelt, and that wound up being a 1-1 draw. Heck of a good battle. A really good one. And then coming in next, we have Sioux Falls, Washington, who are now 3-3-0, pretty balanced. Roosevelt are 1-2-3. They're again another new coach there with Roosevelt, and you have a few things you have to learn, but they got some pretty good experience there for them with that coach, Brian Peterson. I don't know if you've met him before, Chris, but former Sioux Falls Spitfire player, a graduate of Roosevelt himself. So he's given all he has for the team, and then you can see some changes happening there as well.
Absolutely.
Rapid City Central, they wound up with a win against Pierre on Saturday. They split for the weekend. They lost to Aberdeen on Friday, and then wound up defeating Pierre 2-0. I have to give a shout out to the freshman goalkeeper for Pierre. I said the freshman goalkeeper for Pierre when I was doing the announcing, but I said after this game, I don't think anybody's going to call him the freshman keeper. They're just going to call him Pierre's keeper, Joey Fisher. He really did a nice job.
Yeah, Joey's a good young kid. He multi-sport athlete, and he plays basketball, which shows in his hands and his jumping ability. So he's been playing JV a lot this year. As they've had Josh Gaden playing, who's out right now with concussion. And
that's why he was out. I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah, for concussion from the collision with Aberdeen on Tuesday when they played each other. Okay. And there's Joey's the future for Pierre in the net. When Coach Cruz decides to pull that trigger, if it's this year or next year or whatnot. But Joey's athletic. He's going to do some good things. He's going to make some freshman mistakes. But from what I saw of the game against Rapid City Central, there was some athletic saves where he got up there and parried the ball over the top bar wide and just showed a glimpse of what he could be in the future for him.
Yeah, he did not play like a freshman keeper.
No.
And it was fun watching him back there. And Rapid City Central was giving him plenty of opportunities to showcase his talent. So it was a good game. Pierre, of course, with that loss to Rapid City Central, they're sitting right behind him. We have Brandon Valley, Mitchell, Douglas, Harrisburg, and Sturgis. I think Douglas is, again, a pretty new program, and got to give hats off to them for getting that program going and keeping it going, because we know there's kids out there that want to play, obviously. I checked their roster. They have a pretty good-sized roster on the varsity, and it's good that they're getting those kids an opportunity to get out there on the pitch.
Yeah, I think they have one more game this season against Sioux Falls Christian. Is that right?
Let me just double check that and see. I don't know. Yes, they do. They have 2 more games. They play Hot Springs this weekend, and then they'll come out to Sioux Falls and play Sioux Falls Christian.
Yep.
So that will. They're just playing a short season. I think we talked about this earlier, that getting the program up and going. They're not doing a lot of travel. They may have had some budgetary concerns about it, for one thing, when you first get a program going. But you got to get your feet wet somehow. And kudos to Douglas athletic director and the Douglas school leadership for giving the kids the opportunity to play.
Absolutely. Good job, guys.
Yeah. Well, there's some good games coming up this weekend. Plenty of soccer to watch. Let's take a look and see what we have coming up earlier this week before the weekend. Tomorrow night, Brookings will be visiting Huron. That would be a great game to be at. Oh, excuse me. Huron will be visiting Brookings.
Either way, a good game to.
Yeah, it's not that far away. And also Tuesday night, Stevens and Central will play in Rapid City. Stevens is the host for this one. Central will be the home team for the next one. Lincoln and Washington play. Then we'll have Sturgis will be playing St. Thomas More, and Yankton and Brandon Valley, and that should be a good game as well, because Brandon, although they'll be at Yankton, and that'll give Yankton maybe a bit of an edge, but that Brandon speed and the Yankton speed may be fun to watch matched up on the same field there.
Absolutely.
Thursday night, Brookings will host Sioux Falls, Washington, and Huron will host Mitchell, and Lincoln will host O'Gorman. The Lincoln O'Gorman games are always a great battle. Those games are going to be at Howard Wood Field. They're using Howard Wood Field this year for the varsity games. They actually have the pitch lined with black lines or the soccer field. And they're getting some good viewership for us there to put the games up on Soccer 605. We can stream them quite easily from there. And they're getting some people in the stands.
That Howard Wood facility is a very nice facility for football, soccer, track. I mean, definitely a multi-use facility. That's a great place to showcase talent.
Yeah, I wish every community had one like it. They got the Sioux Park Stadium in Rapid City. There's getting to be more and more. We're starting to see more and more turf fields out there for longer play time. Also coming up on Friday, I can only find one AA boys game, and that is Aberdeen Central hosting Yankton. Another one.
That's going to be a good game.
Yeah, maybe you need to go to that one and tell me about it, Chris. I'd love to be there. We've got a family wedding this weekend, so I won't be catching games on Friday and Saturday. Saturday, there's a lot of games, a lot of points that can be picked up there. Brandon Valley will be at Sioux Falls Roosevelt at Yankton Trail Park, and Pierre will be hosting Harrisburg. Excuse me. Yeah, Brandon Valley is actually listed as the home team for that game, but with Sioux Falls Roosevelt, but it's listed to be at Roosevelt. So Pierre will be at Harrisburg. Rapid City Central will be at Spearfish. We talked about that game earlier. That would be a fun one to go to. And then we have Rapid City Stevens will be at Sturgis, and Aberdeen Central will be at Watertown.
Oh.
So
there's a lot of interesting matchups between Aberdeen and Yankton, Aberdeen and Watertown, matchups of some of the top flight teams, and you have some other matchups of teams, Pierre and Harrisburg, who are both going to be, looking to improve their seeding points for the playoffs. Yep. There's a lot of good matchups coming up this week. Rapid City Stevens Central, that's going to be fun to see.
Well, Aberdeen will be hosting Yankton again on Friday night. That's going to be a great match. And Aberdeen has been putting their games up on the Cube, so we'll try and find that and share that on Soccer 605. And then again on Saturday, Watertown will be at Aberdeen. Two great games Friday and Saturday for Aberdeen.
Guess I know what I'll be doing both nights.
Yeah. I have to look and see what time the wedding festivities get over. I hope they'll be recorded. I'll have to watch them later. So, again, best of luck to all the teams. A lot of points out there, Chris. A lot of points to collect.
A lot of points, a lot of good matchups. Midway through the season, a lot of surprises, a lot of not so big surprises. It's going to be fun. It's going to go fast. These last couple of weeks are going to go fast, and on our way to the playoffs, where everyone's record gets clean to 0-0, and away we go.
Yeah. Oh, it's exciting, and it's fun to see so much parity this year.
Yep,
across all divisions. Of course, we still have some young programs, as we mentioned, that are working their way into that parity position, but it'll happen. It'll happen. Nobody can rest on their laurels anymore. All right. Well, that wraps up the show for this week. Join us on Soccer 605 TV's This Week on the Pitch. Chris, thanks a lot for all your valuable input. Let's do this again next.
Have fun out there on the fields.
All right. Let's do this again next week. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, folks. We'll be back with you next week.